Well, we love the wildlife that comes into our garden. Sometimes we get some that maybe cause a little problems. Joining us today is Mark Turner, the wildlife biologist for OSU. And Mark, today we're talking armadillos, right? Let's talk a little bit about. Obviously, they can tear up new garden beds that we might be planting this time of year. What are they after?
Absolutely. So armadillos are native to Oklahoma and actually a pretty cool species just in terms of the armor that they have. But certainly they can cause problems both in a lawn as well as in a garden. So one common misconception is that armadillos are, feeding on the plants or the roots. They eat a little bit of plant matter, but most of what they're doing is actually foraging.
So is it the fact that it's maybe a looser soil that they like in our garden beds or versus turf, or what is it that they're after?
Yeah, so typically we're going to see more foraging in places where it's easier for them to feed. So whether that's a place with loose soil where you've just planted some things, or it could be in your yard where you've irrigated. That's actually one of the most common things that we recommend. I mean, it's tough because people like having nice lush lawns during the summertime, but we do tend to see more armadillo damage in places with irrigation because foraging is easier. There could be more food there as well.
Okay.
And so just reducing the amount that you're irrigating can generally help mitigate some of that damage.
And what are they doing? Like they're just going around with their nose like little piggies, right?
That's right. So they don't have very good eyesight, but they have an excellent sense of smell. So they're just rooting up the soil, trying to find food. And, again, unfortunately, that can cause some damage in your both lawn and garden.
Okay, so what can we do about it?
Yeah, so in small beds, especially, planters and things like that, vegetable gardens, or even smaller planters where it might not be so unsightly. You can certainly use fencing. If you just slightly bury fencing, it does not have to be very tall. Armadillos, are not very good climbers. They do dig a little bit, but they're probably not going to burrow under a fence that's buried, say, 6 inches or so.
Okay.
Just doing that can be very helpful and reduce the likelihood that they're going to get into those either planters or beds that you might have. Obviously, that's not very practical on a larger scale. And so then we're probably going to turn towards trapping. Repellents are not very effective. There's a lot that are commercially available, but really they're not very effective. So we're going to recommend lethal removal if we do need to take that next step, and fencing is not an option.
Okay, so and when we go to trapping, I've heard a little bit about creating a funnel effect to get it into the trap. Can we talk a little bit about laying that out?
Yep. So typically we're just going to use a standard cage trap that you could get at any farm supply store. We're not going to actually need to bait the trap because the armadillos are not really attracted to the bait itself. They're just going to walk into the trap because they're funneled into it. And so we're going to either use existing structures such as fences or the edge of your house, maybe an outbuilding. You can use any of those as one side of a funnel and then just add some fencing on the other side that extends out, say, a couple feet, and that's going to help funnel that armadillo into the trap. You could also just use 2 sections of fencing, and that's also going to be effective. So that way, you're basically just trying to funnel that animal into the trap. And we recommend placing them close to where you're seeing the damage. Doesn't necessarily have to be right on top of it, but somewhere near there, and then use that funneling to draw them into the trap.
And can it be as simple as a couple of boards to create that funnel?
Yep, it doesn't have to be anything overly complex.
Okay.
You could use a couple of boards stacked up, just something just to funnel that animal in.
Okay, and another thing, tell me whether it's a myth or not, but I've heard maybe you shouldn't touch armadillos because of leprosy.
That's correct. So armadillos do carry leprosy. It's not something that you should worry about, out in the environment or anything like that, or seeing them around your house is not a danger to you or your family. But if you are removing them and are going to be touching the animal itself, we do recommend wearing gloves. Be sure to wash your hands afterwards. Again, not something to worry about being around your house, but if you're going to be handling that animal because you've decided to opt for lethal removal, we definitely recommend wearing gloves.
Like any wildlife, you should wash your hands.
Exactly. Just good practices in general.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.